Welcome back to the channel. We are reading the book Life and Multiverse, where we cover two chapters. One is Life After Death, and second one is Life Within the Multi Dimensions and Dimensions Above Earth. So we have gone through. Now we are going to start the chapter 3. Before that, we are going to understand some terminology used in this particular book. That's called Had Ki Duniya and Behad Ki Duniya. So by saying Had Ki Duniya, that is the finite creation, which means perishable, destructible, and non-eternal world, which are composed of the five gross elements, the mortal plane of the existence, the world of birth and death. I think the place where we are right now on planet Earth, that that describes well that this we are here. Behad ki dunya. So what is that? Or the infinite worlds of the creation is eternal and non-destructible in nature, composed of the supreme elements, supreme light. Such infinite dimensions of creations are well beyond the physical and material world of five elements. The word Behad means endless, infinite, and unlimited. These are beyond the imagination of ordinary human consciousness. In short, Behad means worlds of creations which cannot be understood with our limited faculties of imagination. So that clearly describe that what is Had Ki Dunya and what is Behad, finite and infinite creation. So finite creation where we are right now, we are in the cycle of the birth and death, and infinite creation is beyond this, where the world of light, where which is eternal, where life and death is not there. Oh, interesting. So in the second chapter we also talk, it was very interesting that life is better also beyond planet Earth. So, beyond heaven, also, in fact. So, let's start with the chapter 3. Chapter 3 is light speed and time dilation. The possibility that there might be more than one dimension of time has always been a subject of deep research in the field of the modern physics. As of today, scientists have found many proofs which prove the fact that in space, flow of time is different in different dimensions. As per the time dilation theory, the speed of time is different dimension above Earth is different. It has been found that the passage of time depends on the location of the observer and the speed of the experiencer or observer. This is called time dilation, where passage of time slows down as one moves faster. If the span of time is larger between two events, then passage of time is greater. In the Puranas, like Indian scriptures, an ancient an incident of the Balarama, the elder brother of Sri Krishna, is mentioned about marrying the beautiful princess Revati, who, along with her father, had spent a few minutes in Brahmaloka dimension. And by the time the duo had returned back to Earth, 27 yugas had already passed on Earth. There's a small story we read in the previous chapter, and uh, that particular time dilation, like when when the Princess Revati and her father was in Brahmapuri for a few minutes, in that in that particular a few minutes duration, there were uh, Earth year were like it's hard to count the year, but it's mentioned here like 27 yugas had already passed on the earth. So there is a table also which is mentioned into the previous chapter, which I will post in our community channel. If I forget, so please remind me, so I'll just post that. So it has clear information about the time. Very interesting. All right, let's move forward. As explained above, when 27 Chatur Yugas elapses on Earth, then only 19.53 minutes elapses in Brahmaloka. What does that mean? Is like Revati and her father were there in Brahmaloka, that dimension. There they spent around 19.53 minutes, which is around 20 minutes, and in that duration, like Brahmapuri 20 minutes is equivalent to 27 Chatur Yugas. Chatur Yugas, it's like a one yuga is equals to four yuga, right? Uh, Satyug, Dwapar Yug, Treta Yug, Kali Yug, like, Golden Age, Silver Age, Diamond Age, and Iron Age. So, this, this is a one cycle. So, like 27 cycles has been passed between the 20 minutes of Brahma dimension. This clarifies that, sorry about that, this clarifies, uh, got distracted. 1 minute. This clarifies that the passage of time on earth is many times than that on Brahmaloka. Along with these concepts, there is one more factor called effect of the gravity on time dilation, where time varies as gravity varies. Right? Like time, gravity is also a relative term. It is also the reason why passage of time is greater for objects closer to the surface of the earth where the effect of the earth's gravity is maximum. One more example is passage of time is slower for people living on a mountain than those living at the sea level. So this is what they are trying to define is the gravity varies, right? The gravity of earth varies. So one best example what they have mentioned to easy to understand that the time is different on the mountains than the time is different than over the sea level. So the passage of time on earth that we experience is many times greater than what we experience near a black hole. Oh really? By this, we can understand that the we get closer to the black hole, the passage of time slows down compared to the flow of time far from the black hole, and near the black hole, the slowing of time is extreme. Near the black hole, the slowing of time is extreme. According to the Einstein theory, any massive body in space produces this effect. In recent experiments and research on the speed of time, scientists found that the time slows down in a higher altitude above the Earth's surface than on Earth. This is known as a gravitational time dilation. It occurs whenever there is a difference in the strength of the gravity, no matter how small that difference is. The Earth has a lot of mass and therefore a lot of gravity, so it bends space and time enough to be measured. When a person gets further away from the Earth's surface by even just a few meters, then the gravitational force of the Earth on that person becomes weaker and accordingly passage of time reduces as compared to Earth. So it's saying that on the Earth, the gravitational force is different, and then, of course, if you go few kilometers above, the gravitational force of the Earth is different. I think we all understand this. There have been many interesting experiments conducted for many years, and one noteworthy example is the famous October 1971 Haffele-Keating experiment. In the United States Naval Observatory, in this experiment to the theory of the relativity of time, four atomic clocks were taken aboard commercial airlines to test time dilation. They made airline flights around the world in both directions, each circuit taking about 3 days. When they returned and compared their clocks, With the clock of the observatory in Washington, D.C., it was found that the flown clock had gained ahead about 10 nanoseconds, with the increase in every kilometer for each day elapsed on Earth relative to the observatory clock. Similarly, if we travel on a high speed vehicle in a space and a speed is very close to the speed of light, then time appears to slow down. So, indirectly, we can also say that when you go above planet Earth, the time slows down. On the planet Earth, the time is faster. So, uh, if there are different clocks in the different planes, and they did the experiment and they found the difference was there. One particular clock was ahead 10 minutes ahead, 10 nanoseconds ahead, in the Washington DC one, right? So however, if we start traveling at the speed of light, then time slows down to a stop. This is known as a specific relativistic time dilation, where the faster the relative velocity, the greater the time dilation between one another, with time coming to the stop as one approaches to the speed of light. Okay, so the time gonna stop where when it reaches to the speed of light. Very interesting. So let's see what it says further. In case of the astronauts living on the ISS, the International Space Station, gravitational time dilation takes place since they are floating about 260 miles above. Here, the Earth's gravitational pulls in weaker than on its surface on the ground. This means passage of time should be slower in space for the astronauts as compared to the people on Earth. However, the space station is also moving around the Earth at about 8.04 km per second, which means that time should also slow down for the astronauts relative to the people on the surface. As a result, the astronauts end up aging slower than people on the earth. Through the differences, the very magical, sorry, marginal, sorry, I'm really sorry, it's not magical because I just read that aging slow, so I heard, oh, it's magical. So it says earth through the difference is very marginal. After spending 6 months on the ISS, or astronauts would have aged about 0.005 seconds lesser than the people on the earth. So basically, it says that when you go up in the sky, like towards up, then of course time slows down. And astronauts, when they go up, so their age goes slowly. Then they are on the planet Earth, right? As we see the Revati example, Princess Revati example, like she was there for 20 minutes in Brahma dimension, and then 20 minutes there were like thousands of years have passed, right? Like one yuga chatur yuga means four cycles, so it's like thousands and lakhs of years have been passed on planet Earth. Oh, sorry, 1 second. Okay, so what does this paragraph says? That as per the Behad knowledge, we already covered what is Behad means. It's infinite. As per the Behad knowledge given by our most supremely knowledgeable Bapuji, he has explained that the soul, like that a soul is able to move to enter space due to the power of the supreme light, that is also called in Hindi Param Prakash, present in it, and the speed of traveling is determined by the power of the soul. Hmm, interesting. So it's a speed of light is known as power of the soul. Furthermore, like power of the soul, we can say power of the energy, spirit, whatever you call it. In your body, there is something is there, that energy, which is known as soul, is moving it, right? So that soul power is equals to the speed, light speed. Okay. Furthermore, the time in the creation of the determined by the speed with which the soul moves. Therefore, it can be said that in this space, time, speed, and the power inherent in the soul, all three are relative to each other. Yeah, it's interesting because the soul have power, and if it has power, then it can do the light speed, and more the soul have power, the more it will have the speed, and the time will differ based on that. The proof of relativity between time, speed, and power of the soul can be noticed in the higher dimensions situated above Earth, where time flows at very slow rate. For example, in the third dimensions, which is heaven or Swarglok, right? That's called third dimension. A day and the night of the deities is a year on earth. There you we can see the difference between the nearest dimension on the earth. So one day of a heaven is equivalent to a year on the earth. So the time the deities or devtas, like the heavenly beings, I would say, Devi, deities and devtas are like heavenly beings, flows very slowly as compared to the time passes on the earth. Similarly, if we take the example of the Lord Brahma's one day plus one night, the difference in the speed of time is staggeringly large. A day of Brahma, including day and night in Brahmaloka, is equals to 8.64 billion years on the earth. Wow. There you go. I was about to, it's very hard to calculate. But like it's mentioned over here, the day of a Brahma and night. So it's like Brahma day and night is equals to 8.64 billion years on the earth. In Paramdham, the incorporeal world of the Supreme God Shiva, a soul is not bound by the law of time and experiences a timeless state of existence. Time and gravity in Paramdham, which is the highest dimension of our solar system, may be considered as absolute for this Brahmand. Brahmand means solar system. One may attribute this as an instance of gravitational time dilation where the enormous gravitational power of creator of this Brahmand, Shiva, is so large that time does not flow here almost relatively to trillions of years passed on earth. So if we try to calculate the time differences between the highest dimension of the solar system and then earth, so it will be trillions and trillions. It's hard to calculate, but that's what we can say. So that's the next topic is in the same chapter 3 is our universe a scientific viewpoint. So our present age advancements in science and technology have been notably huge leaps in knowledge and consequently impacted the daily of the humankind as a whole, despite of the fact that new innovations and technological progress have given us all a life of ease as compared with the life of the human in the previous hundreds years or so. We must be aware that the process mankind has only moved away from nature. There is no doubt that scientific research and developments in technology have given a lot of material prosperity to humankind, but we must also acknowledge that the negative impact of the modern science has separated soul from the spiritual science, creating an illusory world of objects and its false happiness. As a result, man has got lost in the worlds of the sense objects, leading him to forget the true nature of the soul. As per the scientist, a human being is nothing but a collection of atoms. Oh, this is so resonating, right? So that's true. We got so busy with our lives, like, can you imagine a life without a mobile, without internet? The That was like before, yes, we have um most of us, our parents or our elders have might have gone through this life, right? Without cell phone, without phones, without television also. But now it becomes a necessity of, like, you can't imagine without phone how would you survive, like, it's difficult to think about it even. We got so used to, got so busy in this that we don't think about ourselves. We don't spend time to ourselves. Like, we become like, uh who am I am the one who is working. I'm the woman, I'm the mom, I'm the daughter, blah 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 blah. But actually who you are, what you like, what are your likes and dislikes, and what you want, what is your true nature, we become so automated. So it's very interesting. As per the scientist, a human being is nothing but the collection of atoms, a structure of the flesh and bones, and at the most an evolved animal in comparison to other species. However, we fail to realize the truth that the man is not an animal at the highest point in the evolutionary ladder, but he is a divine being, albeit a fallen one. Whatever we can perceive with these physical eyes is just a physical body only, but we do not comprehend that the body of the five element is just an external covering of the eternal reality called the soul, which lies inside. In today's age, our understanding is limited only to the world of five senses, which is why we take the outer covering of the soul physical body as the only truth, and this is the main cause of all our problems. A question surely will arise here, despite of the magnificent intelligence that science has demonstrated in all fields. There is a distinct failure on the part of the scientist to understand the soul and its workings. Why is it so? Further, all the world's renowned scientists, uh, not sci- yeah, have not been able to solve the mystery of the dark matter and dark energy to date, despite of diligent researches made in this field. For example, CERN laboratory, established in 1954 in Geneva, Switzerland, operates the largest particle psy- psychics physics laboratory in the world. It also contains the LHC, which is a large hadron collider set up in 2008 for the enabling research into the fundamental structure of what the universe is made of and how it works. Yet one wonders, why why is there no solid breakthrough on the dark matter and the dark energy until the date? The question remains unanswered by science. From a spiritual viewpoint, the cause of this is very simple. So, due to a reliance only on physical instruments and gross material based experiments, the information obtained by the scientists is highly limited in nature. So, we are talking about here that the scientist is doing research since long time about dark matter and dark energy, more information about the soul. So there is a laboratory, there are different uh, structure or teams has been identified, but they are not able to get through yet. But if we see from the spiritual point of view, they cannot get through this until it is because they have all physical instrument, which is not which cannot be find out the subtle information. So, the source of the information obtained by the intellect is only through the world of sense and five elements. This is precisely the reason science is unable to penetrate into the heart of the invisible universe and find accurate answers. Its sole reliability on the material based machines, instruments, and equipment would result in information about the gross material world only. Whereas a person who follows the spiritual path by acquiring spiritual knowledge and engaging in meditation by focusing his consciousness in the Atman, which is like soul, and by continuous practice will be able to uncover all the mysteries within himself. Here buddhi, which is intellect, and mind are turned inwards by the focusing only on the soul. So we are comparing science versus, which is like looking in the physical world, versus doing meditation in the meditative state, go inside. So Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. So this is taken from the Indian scripture, is the concept in Indian Vedanta where Brahma or Paramatma, that is incorporeal, supreme divine light, is considered the only eternal truth and the visible gross world as an illusion. Since the soul is but a part of God Almighty, the effect this means we carry the same divine truth within ourselves. It's not by studying the physical phenomena of this physical world one will gain fruitful answers, but only by the power of the soul, by going deep within oneself in connecting with Paramatma Parmeshwar, which is Almighty, the mysteries of this universe and the entire creation will be revealed. The spiritual journey of a seeker to go within oneself to Atman, self conscious, whole consciousness, is the only solution available to the science as of today. Nikola Tesla is the genius scientist, had said the day science begin to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in one decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence. The unseen cosmic world is so subtle and vast that this grass world of name and form can see and understand only 0.01% or even less of unseen reality. So Nikola Tesla has accepted that we can do more progress if we concentrate on non-physical phenomena. Right now, scientists are only concentrating on the physical phenomena, which can be seen from the eyes. But Indian scripture says that Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya means divine light is the truth, and this world is destructible, which is we understood it's a had ki dunya. So, undestructible world, which is Behad ki dunya, is unseen, it's non visible, non physical. Let's say. So, the material world is made of five elements with air, ether, fire, water, and earth. A day will come soon in the near future when science will be able to view the unexplained parts of the universe and creation, etc. With the help of the highly developed instruments made of refined elements known as the supreme subtle elements. The material world is primarily based on the water and earth elements, which give shape and form to this physical reality. It is also the reason why we are unable to see with these physical eyes the countless number of ghosts and spirits around us, since they are in three elemental subtle body made of ether, air, and fire elements. The reality of invisible world is multitude times more than the visible material world, and we have never been able to know much about it. The reason is that This unseen world is made up of supreme elements, that is the Param Akash Tattva, Param Vayu Tattva, and Param Agni Tattva, which is unknown to science. So it's called supreme ether element, supreme air element, and supreme fire element, which are unknown to science. These elements of the invisible worlds are highly subtle. These are so subtle that it is very unknown to scientists, refined and carries the tremendous energy that one cannot view with physical devices nor comprehend by human intellect and the physical scientist tools. So, this invisible world has remained hidden and inaccessible from any scientific research. The only possible way to know about or go into these non-physical, supernatural, and subtle dimension is through the tool made of supreme elements and the devices composed of the supreme elements. In the last century, there have been many great scientists who had made immense contributions to science, surprisingly, without aid of the sophisticated laboratories or expensive equipments. Albert Einstein is one of the prime example of the genius. As per his theory of the general relativity, massive object warp bend the space and time around them, and the effect and a warp has on objects is what we call is gravity. In other words, gravity is curving or warping of space as well as time. The more massive an object, the more it warps the space around it. Further, the warping effect affects the measurements of time. We tend to think of time as ticking away at a steady rate, but just as gravity can stretch or warp the space, it can also dilate time, since there is a difference in the strength of the gravity in each place. The theory of the relativity given by Einstein in 1915, published here, transformed theoretical physics and astronomy during the 20th century, giving physicists as a totally new perspective, suspending a 200-year-old theory of the classical mechanics of the solid objects. The question is, how did Einstein understand and come to all these conclusions which stand true even today without the help of any researcher or sophisticated laboratory for his findings? He used his wonderful power of imagination and visualization, and all of a sudden, he invented the theory of the relativity and equation E equals to mc square. Einstein had a typical method of focusing on his ideas and theory, but by closing his eyes and drifting away mentally to a different dimension, and by the way of his thoughts, it would bring in new ideas to the world. In Einstein basically had the whole theory in his mind, which he would solve and visualize in his thoughts itself. This process was much more accurate than the cumbersome laboratory based experiments. Einstein called his methodology as a thought experiment. An instance once when Einstein was to give a lecture at the Princeton, Princeton University in the United States. The officials asked him for the list of the items that he would require to prove his theory by way of the experiment, but he simply asked them to provide a blackboard, few chalks, a pencil, and few sheets of papers for writing. The university official was taken aback at the simple request and wondered as to how could Einstein possibly conduct his experiment with such few things. So Einstein was believing on thought experiment, and he was drifting away in his thoughts, and he gets an idea or inspiration, and then he used to study that. Very interesting. So Einstein, we are going to read this Nikola Tesla in the next session. That's part 2 of chapter 3. So we'll try to close it here. Thank you for listening and staying with me for this chapter. I might have rates few words differently, so pardon me for that. And thank you. We'll meet again. Bye bye.